Morning. So I'm at the woodland retreat today in Cardiff doing some shamanic sessions. A bit chillier this morning, but still quite nice. And I've just kind of just before they start, just thought I'd have a little walk around the grounds and have a little sit down by the fire pit and the bonfire. It's not lit yet, obviously. And observe all the squirrels, and there's blooming millions of them here today, screaming through the branches of the oak trees, picking up their acorns and squirreling away what they need to squirrel away for the winter. And that kind of prompted a little bit of thought around, do we need to maybe squirrel something away ready for the winter? And obviously the initial feeling was, maybe we need to hoard food, maybe we need to buy more toilet roll, maybe we need to all the stupid stuff people do when they start to panic. And I'm you're starting to see supermarket shelves emptying and people going into crazy states of fear again over obviously a rhetoric and a narrative which has been projected at us. But for me, squirreling away stuff isn't really about hoarding material things, and that includes food. It's more about conserving energy, and we need our energy conserved because things are tough right now, and even if our daily lives haven't been impacted dramatically, in terms of maybe like they were when the original lockdown came, there's so much stuff out there, there's so much energy going on out there, conflicting energy, discordant energy, dissonant energy, which you can't help but feel at some level. If you're bypassing it, if you're trying to transcend it, if you're buggering off to some cave in the Himalayas, more power to you. But most of us ordinary folk, we got to still kind of keep our feet on the ground. There's a train. Keep our feet on the ground, earn a bit of a living, look after the kids, and exist the best way we can, really. So it's not about, for me, it's not about kind of escaping it, transcending it, avoiding it, staying out of it really either. It's about kind of fully immersing yourself in it, but in a way which protects yourself from the energies, from the conflicts that are going on at the moment, and there are a lot of them going on at the moment. That doesn't mean to say, oh hello, can you see that? Little Robin just come to say hello. I'm not sure if you can see him on the fence. Can't really point the camera. There he is. Don't know if you can see him there. Just quietly thought he'd come and keep me company. It's quite nice when you're still, you see, when you're still and you're just being within nature. Nature tends to come to you. And so here's another little messenger, Robin Redbreast. The courageous one. Having the courage to stand up for yourself, stand up for your beliefs. There he is. Hello. Hope you can see him there. Hope I'm pointing the camera in the right direction. Thank you for being so inquisitive, little Robin. There he is. There he goes. Yeah, and he's obviously just wants to keep me company, which is nice. And off he pops. So conservation of energy, in order to stand up in your truth, you mustn't get hooked or dragged by differing opinions. Opinions are just that, they're opinions, and we've all got them. We've all got opinions, okay? Can't help that. We live within a subjective mind, and the subjective mind isn't always correct, because obviously the subjective mind projects its perceptions based on the filters that it's created for itself, you know, over eons of existence, right? Which is why, again, it's so important to sometimes just come out into nature and just be still and observe, without judgment, without looking for labels, without anything really, without attachment to any outcomes. Because then you gain a bit more clarity, and then you can start to feel into yourself a little bit more, and gain perspective, and understand that we're all part of this amazing network. And when we fight amongst each others over silly, pathetic little things, it doesn't do anyone any good. I noticed there were some demonstrations in London over the weekend, which again I observed some videos on, just to see, trying to do a bit of self-work through watching the videos, just to see how I was reacting to, or responding internally to, what I was observing. You know, the riot police coming in, some of the whatever you want to call it, the mistreatment of the protesters, who, a lot of them are saying, you know, this is a peaceful protest, and it's quite easy to put a mask of peace on, isn't it? Yeah, it's easy to put a poker face of peace on. But if there's a passive aggressiveness beneath that peace, beneath that mask, then that passive aggressiveness is going to be shown to you in actual authentic violence and aggressiveness. And watching some of the protesters getting really angry and screaming and shouting when the police were doing their thing, not that I was supporting the actions of the police, because they were a bit heavy-handed, you could see the blood boiling, okay, and the anger rising, which means no one was really at peace there. And I don't feel anyone can truly say within themselves that they're at peace with this whole situation. There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of rattling about going on. But in some ways it's a good thing, because it shows us where we're at, and if we're observant enough and aware enough, we can start to work with that energy and transform it into action, into something creative, into something that can make a maybe difference to your life or someone else's life, even if it's just a word of encouragement, even if it's just a smile. Pull your mask down, give someone a smile, because I'm pretty sure most people are missing that. Even if it's about giving someone a hug, okay? The social distancing thing is killing people. It really is. You know, it's a torture technique, and it's not good, and it doesn't stop a bloody virus, as has been shown clearly, because apparently cases are going up again. But of course it's all our fault, because we're not social distancing, obviously. So yeah, we need to be aware of the shadow, our shadow of passive aggressiveness, our shadow nature, that likes to put its mask on to be accepted, or to even play a game and to manipulate. There's a lot of manipulation on the train, so it's not always peaceful here. Every now and then you get a train. Yeah, there can be a lot of manipulation that goes on behind the masquerading that we put in front of us, when we, you know, want to be peaceful, and yet when we're triggered aren't. Because when we're triggered and we're not peaceful, then we're not really peaceful, are we? So let's just be aware of that, and try to understand, are these protests, yes, they might be making a difference, they might be making people aware. Clearly the narrative, the media will twist the pictures, they'll twist things to their own agenda. And if you've got an attachment to outcome to any of this, then you're hooked. You're hooked. You're placing your will over the will of spirit. You're placing your intentions for what you think might be right going forward over the will of spirit. And the way to sometimes work with that karma is to apply the principle of karma yoga to your daily actions, and it's really simple karma yoga when you can remember to do it. And you basically say to yourself and your inner self, your inner God, your inner source spirit, whatever you want to call it, that you realize that you are unaware, you realize that you are still asleep, that you are unconscious pretty much most of the time, unless you're doing serious work on a daily basis, meditating and doing all sorts of crazy, not crazy stuff, good stuff to raise your levels of consciousness. Most of us don't have the time to do that. We have commitments, we have a life to lead, so you have to use your life as your meditation. You have to live fully. You have to live fully. It's a bit like saying, there's two types of courage. There's the type of courage that pushes itself out into the world and isn't fearful of dying, right? Which is almost a bit masochistic. And there's the type of courage which takes a more inward approach and isn't afraid of living. Isn't afraid of living, isn't afraid of making mistakes, isn't afraid of wearing their heart on their sleeve. And saying, this is who I am, and I'm okay with that. This is who I am, and I'm okay with that, because I'm learning and I'm growing. So karma yoga is about living your life, but rather than claiming the fruits of your own labor, your physical labor, your lunar labor, your egoic unconscious labor, you give the fruits and the outcome of your life to spirit, to God. And that way you're saying, well, look, I'm doing my best based on the level of consciousness that I'm at the moment, but I'm not attached to my outcomes, because if you're too attached to your outcomes, then that's probably going to create stress and anxiety in you, because you've created expectations for yourself. When things don't quite go the way you think they should do, that's going to create even more suffering, and maybe you haven't got the bigger picture. No one's got the bigger picture. Anyone who professes to have the bigger picture is lying. You can maybe see a little bit more than others. Maybe you can see where things might be heading if you've got a pragmatic and sensible approach to things. But it's very difficult to look into the future with certainty at the moment, which is why it's more important to live very much in the present moment. And little Robin's back just to my right to say hello again. You can see him there. Don't know if I can zoom in. No, can't zoom in on my camera, but he's just on that little bit there with his little red breast. So lots of opportunities in these difficult times to understand ourselves more and look at where our shadow is lurking in the background. We're entering a time of year now where it's good to work with ancestors, good to work with our shadow nature, good to understand it a bit more, good to integrate it. So if you're feeling a little bit passive aggressive, a little bit aggressive under the veneer of love and light and peace, then just get in touch with that and understand that a little bit more, and understand why you don't feel you can be authentic and angry at times, and speak your truth with a bit of anger at times, because sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes we need to be a bit more assertive in our approach, and it's okay to do that. It's actually more authentic to do that, rather than the kind of the hidden manipulation that goes with this kind of passive aggressive approach. I mean, I was reading, I read a book a while back about Gandhi's life, and a lot of people revered him as the great Mahatma, and he was a very clever man, and a great soul. I'm not going to deny him that, but if you actually study the history and you study some of the actions that he took, there was passive aggressiveness within his peaceful protesting, and that passive aggressive manipulation, if it's not understood and it's not made aware, will create an intention which then creates a result which is adverse, or probably is going to create a situation or result which isn't really what you feel your intention is at the point in time. So if you're genuinely at peace and genuinely serene, then you will create a serene an outcome. But if there's any ounce of shadow behind that, you're going to create further down the road a bit of a problem. That's what happened. He might have kicked out the British Empire, but then at the time, you know, there was a Hindu majority and a Muslim minority within India, and then the Hindus started kicking off against the Muslims and fighting each other, and then he got assassinated. I can't remember which side assassinated him, but you know, you never have the bigger picture unless you're fully aware of yourself, and none of us are there yet. So we have to be cognizant of that. We have to be cognizant of our limitations, and not pedestalize ourselves to the extent where we are imposing our will over others. And everyone's doing it right now. You know, everyone's doing it. So that's why you get all the discordant kind of pendulum swinging all over the place. So yeah, a little morning ramble for you. Just time to maybe withdraw a bit. I'm certainly going to be doing a bit more of that, or a lot more of that actually. I'm tired. I'm genuinely tired of all the nonsense. And although sometimes I can't help being stuck in the middle of it. You know, I've got 3 kids. They're at school. There's all the stuff that's going on there. Hello, little squirrel going up the tree. You know, got an active life to lead. You know, I've got a mother I'm looking after. She's watching the news all day. These things are in your face. It's in your face. It's right there. So you have to withdraw at times. You have to come back to your own energy. You have to kind of reconstitute and bring those fragments back. And breathe. Put your hand on your chest and close your eyes, and just breathing deeply. I mean, the smells from this place are amazing. I can smell the leaves on the ground, you know, the leaves on the tree, the fresh air. It feels fresh, yeah. So if you're not feeling so fresh right now, if you're feeling a bit bottled up, even if you're under some local stupid freaking lockdown, get somewhere out in nature. There's always a little bit of place, a little bit of green you can go and sit in for a bit and communion. Communion means to come into union, communion, yeah. Come into union with yourself and with nature. Anyway, have a great day.